Okay, this is the walkthrough for the QBA final exam. First, question one. Basically, the question was asking you who were the two best recruiters by gender and who were the four best recruiters by gender. So for the two best, you need to find the best male and the best female recruiter. There was kind of two criteria you could have done that on. You could have either said by value, i.e., by the total amount of salary, the sum of the salary of the people that person had hired. And going by that criteria, the best male and the best person overall was Anthony with 4.8 million, and the best female and the second best person overall was Nora with 4.4 million. If instead of going by total salary, you use the criteria of count, basically the number of people they got jobs, then the best male would have been Jack with 59 jobs, 59 people placed, and the best female would have been Nora with 52. And either answer would have been acceptable. And on that same criteria, there's several different answers that would have been accepted for the four worst. If you didn't take gender into an account because the question was a little unclear, and you'd used the count criteria, then the worst recruiters by count were Rachel with only two people placed, or Wanda, sorry, with only two people placed over the course of the year. Rachel and Yolanda with 6, and it was a four-way tie for the fourth one of either Tanya, Paula, Olivia, or Kendra, and you could have picked any of those. If you included gender into it, you could have said Wanda and then Yolanda and Rachel, or Rachel, and Anthony and Larry. Coincidentally, even though Anthony has the highest total amount of income, he had one of the lowest counts. If instead you use value, not taking gender into account, they were Wanda, Rachel, Yolanda, and Paula. And if you were splitting them 2 and 2, it would have been Wanda and Rachel, and then Brad and Michael. Those are the answers that will be accepted for question 1. For question 2, you needed to take the sales data and try and figure out, was there an equation that would predict who the most productive salesperson was? And basically, your most productive salesperson would have either been the person who got the most candidates jobs, which would probably have been salesperson number 6 with 104 candidates placed, or the person that made the most commission for the company. If instead you picked the salesperson with the highest total salary of hired people, you basically were still picking commission because commission was 10% of that. So you still would have had an equation that worked, but I would have taken a couple of points off because the goal of the company is to place people so that we can earn commission. It's not really to get the total salary of people hired. But either way, if you do a number of regressions, you would have ended up with something like this. And in this regression, my R squared is 0.94, 94%, which is great. My p-values are all very good. And so I ended up with an equation that commission earned is equal to 52,904 times years of higher education plus 40,522 times years of experience minus 207,393. So that's my equation. It is reliable, and the reason it is reliable is because my R squared is greater than 70%. So that would be question number 2. Now, for question number 3, the office rollout. The idea is you have $500,000 to spend to set up your office and do some initial marketing, and not spending more than that $500,000. How do you end up with the most amount of revenue in your first year? Okay, so my 3 decisions, and there was kind of a hint in the question because the question asked you what was the location, how many people did you invite, and how many mailings did you send. So those are my 3 inputs. My location is a code. I picked 1 if it was Lacoste and 2 if it was Harriet Watt. My number of party invites and my number of mailings sent, and this is how we handled it. So my lease expense, if the location was equal to 1, was 2,500 times 149. If I didn't, it was 2,500 times 180, which makes sense because those are the 2 prices of the spaces. My furniture expense, if I picked 1 for Lacoste, and my furniture expense was $59,000. If not, it was zero because at Harriet Watt I don't need to buy furniture. And my decoration expense is just $16,000 because I was going to spend that regardless because I wasn't happy with the decorations at Harriet Watt and Lacoste didn't have any. So that takes care of my location. Now the party. If I invite people to the party, then I need to rent the room at a discount. And here's the equation for that. And if I didn't, then there is no party expense because there's no party. And then that's the only if statements for the party because the food is just multiplying the number of people invited times the amount per person for food, and the same thing for alcohol. So that takes care of the party. Now the mailing kind of works the same way. I multiply the number of mailings sent times the mailing materials, so that it's $8.50 for every one that I mail. The postage is $1.75 for every one I mail. The stuffing cost is 5 cents for every one I mail. And then I take those three together, account for my mailing expense. So if I had 1,000 packages that I mailed, it would be $8,500 for the packages, $1,750 for the postage, and $50 to get them stuffed. But I didn't. Totaling all of these together gives me my total expense, which I'm basically trying to get as close to $500,000 as I can without going over. And my equation for customers obtained was the number of invites times 0.25 or 1 in 4, and plus the number of mailings times 0.05 or 1 in 20, which gives me my total number of customers obtained, 239. And that times 2,000, which is the value of a customer on average in the first year, gives me the $478,000 that I would have gotten in revenue. Now, this isn't saying that this business has a loss of $21,000. Though if I can dig that out of your equations that you could figure that out, I was accepting that. The idea was you had $500,000 to spend. You're going to spend it. You're not trying to minimize that. How much revenue can you come out of the other side? Because it's all for the setup of your office. Next year, you're not paying to have another huge party and what have you. So how well are you going to do next year? Now, when it comes to Solver, and of course, Solver isn't set up here. For those of you who don't know how to do that, you're going to go to Options, Add-ins, Go, Analysis Toolpack, Solver, Add-in. They're already checked, so where was it? All right, and so when you have this happen, what you do is you uncheck them. And then you go back and you add them back to make sure that your system can see them. So add-ins, go, add in the analysis toolpack, Solver add-in, and go to data. Okay, and we have Solver here. My objective is my revenue for the first year, which I want to get as high as possible. I'm maximizing. My changing cells are these 3 cells. The first cell I am setting to be greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 2 in an integer, because I only want it to be 1 or 2. B16, my total expense has to be less than or equal to 500,000, and the number of party invites and the number of mailings sent have to be greater than or equal to 0, and they have to be integers because I can't send a fractional invitation or send a fractional mailing. And so with that, I run Solver and I get the answer. So that's question number 3. Now, question number 4. It's made up of a couple of parts, but this is a production problem. So you should have looked at it. and saw that the corporate recruiting service was really easy. It takes 40 hours of a recruiter's time. There's an average commission of $7,000, and the meeting room time is about an hour. Now, the JHA, the Job Hunters Assistance Package, is a package. All of these things get done for one person. So what happens is the recruiter spends about an hour rewriting the resume. Half of that hour is spent interviewing the person in the meeting room. So that's an hour of recruiter time, half an hour of meeting room time. Then they do mock interviews. 3 mock interviews of 20 minutes each is an hour. 3 recaps of 10 minutes each is a half an hour. And those are held in the meeting room with the candidate. So that's an hour and a half of recruiter time, hour and a half of meeting room time. Customized job search, where the recruiter goes out and finds a job, looks for jobs for the candidate, which is done in their office. It's not done in the meeting room. So that's an hour of recruiter time, 0 hours of meeting room time. And reference verification, where they spend an hour calling up to 8 recruits, and it's in their office. Again, it's not in the meeting room. So that's an hour of recruiter time, 0 hours of meeting room time. So what we have here is, when we add everything together for the package, it's 4.5 hours of recruiter time, 2 hours of meeting room time. And the fee for the Job Hunters Assistance Package is $1,050. So we just build the same kind of chart we've built several times before. Our recruiting time for CRS is 40 hours. Our meeting room time for CRS is 1 hour. Our recruiter time for JHA is 4.5 hours. Our meeting room time is 2 hours. And our revenue, respectively, is $7,000, $1,050. And our capacity of hours, it said each of our 4 recruiters is available for 40 hours a week. And you can make the assumption that there's 4 weeks per month. So there's 640 recruiter hours available in the month, and 320 meeting room hours available in the month, and that was given to you in the case. So basically, we have our usage, which is a sum product of our production and the recruiter time, and the usage for meeting room, which is a sum product of our production and the meeting room time. And of course, our total revenue, which is a sum product of our production and our revenue, and we run Solver to get the answer.